When I first moved into this house, I had almost a reverence for it. Every little detail must have been so meticulously placed by honestly people that are long gone by now. This house has been in our family for a long time, to the point that I freaked out because I accidentally made a scratch in the paint on the inside of my closet. And now, as you can see from behind me, big changes are happening to this place. What prompted that change of mind? I'm literally taking a 15-minute break from painting to film this video, so apologies for my current condition. Painting just sucks. It really sucks. It's exhausting, both physically and mentally. And then at the end of the day, after you look upon what you have done with pride, there's the sinking feeling in the back of your mind that you have to do it all over again tomorrow. And then probably the day after that, because painting requires multiple coats, which absolutely sucks. And of course, there's the knowledge that the things that you are changing now will never go back to the way that they used to be. Especially because I grew up so much with this house being the anchor in my life of no matter, if I lived in Sacramento, if I lived in North Carolina, no matter what, through my childhood, through my teenagerhood, to my adulthood, this house was the only anchor I had. My parents got rid of my childhood toys pretty early, and so this was the only physical thing that I had from my childhood. Well, that and honestly my most personally treasured possession, which is absolutely worthless objectively. It's just some bark that I stuffed in my pocket the last time that I ever visited my elementary school. The place that I spent 6 days a week at, because it was also a big church, and was such a huge integral part of my life growing up, one day was out of it. I looked upon it for the last time, and that's just weird. And I don't like that thought. I live in the past to an unhealthy degree, probably. But especially living in this house that used to belong to my great-grandmother growing up, and her fingerprints are all over this house. Not literally, well, I guess literally they were in the old paint job, and now we've just painted right over them. Oops. But to the degree that even though technically my grandmother has purchased this house and it is under her name and this is her home, she still thinks of it as her mother's home growing up. Walking around here, it almost feels like I am stepping into an empty, 500-year-old church. There's that weight of so much history has happened in this home, and how dare you disturb any part of it. And of course, a great example of this is the green carpet. A very 60s, 70s thing, because it's literally from that time. And the thing is, my grandmother has hated it for years and years and years. She's wanted to get rid of this, but hasn't, because there's so much history behind it. This was the carpet that her mother picked out for the home. This was the floor of her childhood. And it's been that way for her entire life. And I know to you, or in the grand scheme of things, it might seem like a totally inconsequential thing, just changing the floor. But to me and my grandmother, who are both incredibly sentimental, we literally had to talk to multiple family members about this very thing. And it's taken me quite a while to accept the fact that the wonderful childhood memories I had with this place were wonderful, and my great-grandmother saw this house in a certain way. It was very much her. But all of this is here because way back in the day, my great-grandmother decided to live in her now. She didn't try and preserve the home decor look from the 20s. She acknowledged and appreciated and learned from her past and the experiences that have brought her to her present, and then took advantage of that present. Because life isn't necessarily about preserving your past experiences. It's learning from those past experiences to be able to apply them to your future experiences in your present state. That's blowing my mind. You don't even understand. And so I'm finally giving myself permission to fix things around the house that have been driving me nuts, but I didn't want to change because, like, oh, that's just the way that things used to be, so that's the way that they're going to be. Like, for example, I can finally open that window. You see these? Those top windows? I took a hammer. They were, like, held in place by decades and decades of paint, drying up, sealing them in place. I took a rubber mallet and pounded those suckers, and now they move freely. That's fantastic. I have wanted that for 3 years. And there was nothing stopping me from going at it. Except for myself. So I'm pushing through that. And I'm telling this to you because it's genuinely changing the way that I look at the whole timeline of my life. That my purpose isn't to preserve my past experiences, it's to take those and learn from them to be able to apply the lessons that those have taught me into my current and future problems, I guess, situations. There's probably a better way to phrase that, but that's what I got after 2 full days of back-breaking pain. Literally back-breaking. My back is killing me. So now, if you'll excuse me, duty calls. See you, in the future.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Wait for it, wait for it. Woo, we're done! Yeah!
Right.
Until tomorrow morning.
Yeah. We gotta do it all over again.